You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. I'm starting to think that a lot of what we're seeing, if it's in the mainstream media, if it's on TV, whether it's for what people perceive as the woke agenda or for the freedom agenda, I think that anything that we're seeing right now in the mainstream is still a diversion from what we should really be looking at. I think that even if it's like, take RFK and Trump, for example, there are so many in the truth community that believe that these individuals are there to lead them in a direction that's going to make their personal lives better and that's going to change collectively where we're headed, which it may in a way, but I still think that all these players are part of the matrix, if you want to call it, part of the programming to keep us from perceiving what's beyond that. And I think it's all a distraction. All of the material world that we focus on is really a distraction from the other things that we should be focusing on, especially if it's a divisive distraction like politics or like who we should be voting on for the next savior, right?
I would totally agree, and that's actually one thing I like to relay a lot during my show is we have to have a very high level of discernment right now with everything that's going on. It is no longer a concept of physical warfare when it comes to this playing field. I mean, there's still little bits of it here and there, but it has moved now to psychological, spiritual, emotional warfare. And one thing I've noticed, and I actually brought this up with Joe on Legit Bat podcast, was it seems like they muddied the waters after COVID, because before COVID, there was a lot of uprisings. There was a lot of awakenings. I had brought up the Yellow Vest movement. There was a lot of, proletariat, working class revolutions going on around the world. And a lot of people theorized COVID was to snuff that out. And then now what we have is, we have the conservative Christians who have joined the awakening movement, which, awesome. I have no issues with that. I'm happy when anybody's on board. But it's definitely the sensationalism and the extremism of some of that group has kind of like muddied the waters a little bit. And in my opinion, it was a little bit of a diversion tactic, because now you have people like us who, we don't really claim any political party. We just want truth and awakening. We have to get through all of that, to scream into the void a little bit louder. I think what we also have too with the whole Trump RFK situation is we have a lot of symbolism at play right now, especially with everything that's going on. I mean, you see like almost the system is starting to break apart at the seams. We have the split in the Republican Party right now between Trump and DeSantis, and then we have the split in the Democratic Party between RFK and Biden at this point. So we're getting all of these schisms everywhere. And I honestly feel that there is being a lot of diversion thrown out at us at this point in time. And I feel it's being done purposefully because the powers that be, they know they cannot stop this. It's going to happen regardless. They're going to do their best to try and divert it off course.
Yeah. And what's being portrayed and always has been, at least since the dawning of the television and our modern political system, is the division tactics of keeping people either on the extreme right or the extreme left and keeping them far from coming together in the middle as possible. And this is just a continuation of that. And I think as long as just this left-right paradigm continues, we won't be able to see through, well, at least the people who haven't come to this stage of their awakening won't be able to see through a lot of the nonsense that's being thrown at them, especially when it comes to politics and everything surrounding what we see on the television and social media, which most people believe is reality, unfortunately.
It's a shame, and I talk about it a lot. I think really what it is there's this deep collective, almost subconscious fear, because for a lot of people, they, especially a lot of the older generation that's still with us, this is all they've come to know, and this is all they know. This is how they operate. This is how it's been for a long time. The right-left paradigm is on its way out. You have a lot of people who are starting to, have more alternative beliefs, alternative views, more about community, sustainability, kind of coming together as a collective as opposed to being so divided. And I personally feel at this point, people are still holding on out of collective fear, and it's decentralization is coming, in my opinion, at this point. If you look at what I just said about the political parties splitting into pieces, things are starting to, there's ripples being made in this ocean, I guess is the best way I can put it at this point in time.
Right. Yeah. And what we're seeing now with the lull of the next agenda, there's a period we're going through right now where there seems to be a dropout of serious fear tactics when it comes to the next propaganda or false flag agenda that is going to be put forward to keep us wanting daddy government and military industrial complex to protect us from the invisible boogeyman that's always supposed to be here. So we're between that right now. Whatever is coming next could be a multitude of things, but it seems like they've spent a lot of time and a lot of money and energy into the pandemic, jab, booster, problem, reaction, solution, medical area that we just exited. Do you think that we will see a part 2 of that, or you think we're going to move on to something new?
Well, there's one thing I always like to tantalize, and I always think about is that, these people who have staged these events, who have created these events, they essentially create the resources as well. And that's kind of a very, it's a big indicative thing that when, we're talking about the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all of these people being involved in creating these events, and these people not only, have the means to do so, they also create the resources. And if you create the resources, you have kind of unlimited means to do so. I think there are going to most certainly be some last ditch efforts. I know they have been trying to throw the fake alien invasion card back into the picture. I think they failed miserably by claiming a few months at the beginning of the year that they shot down a UFO, and that kind of destroyed the credibility in that part of their plan. And now they're coming forth and trying to say, well, now we have 12 UFOs and alien life. I think I really do not know where they could go, Chris. And, that's one thing I'm going to be 100% honest about, because when COVID came around, I did not think it was going to be in the form of a virus. However, we can actually just, pay attention and keep observation and see that they are trying to gear us towards some kind of massive event that is ultimately going to be their trump card, their last-ditch effort to try and implement the New World Order.
Yeah, there's got to be something. There's always has to be the invisible enemy or boogeyman. You mentioned the UFOs, and I remember in 2020 and before that time, the conspiracy or truth community thought that the government military-industrial complex was hiding the truth about aliens and UFOs from us. And now most of the truth community believes that the government is the cause of the UFO and alien phenomena and will be trying to stage a fake invasion of some sorts, which I can see both sides. I can see where there is... Based on my own experiences, based on guests I've had, I do believe there is non-human intelligence. I am not sure whether it's actually off-planet or it's a interdimensional type of phenomena where there is life surrounding us, we just can't perceive it. Or if it's just non-corporeal intelligence that knows how to interact with us and affect our perception to where we believe we're seeing something physical. It could be all of these things.